She thought adopting an old man was her shortcut to motherhood, but she never imagined the price she'd pay. Because years later, the child born from that decision would return, not to love her, but to ruin everything she ever built. The camera opens on a silent Atlanta skyline, rain glistening against glass towers, the hum of a lonely city echoing below. Inside a high-rise penthouse, Clara Westfield stands by the window, clutching a champagne glass that's gone warm hours ago. She has everything money can buy: a luxury skincare brand, a penthouse overlooking the skyline, influence that commands rooms, but nothing that fills the silence echoing through her life. Her reflection in the glass looks like a stranger. The clock ticks. She opens a letter. Her final IVF attempt has failed. That's when her world caves in. In the next shot, Clara sits across from a social worker at an adoption agency. She's poised, calm, her voice steady, but her eyes tell another story. I want to adopt someone who doesn't have anyone. The social worker raises a brow, expecting her to mean a child. Instead, Clara slides a file forward. Harold Bennett, 68, widower, no family, former music teacher. You want to adopt an elderly man? He's all alone, she replies softly, her lip trembling. So am I. The agency approves it. Out of pity or confusion, no one knows. Cut 2. Clara meeting Harold for the first time in a quiet retirement home. He sits by the piano, his frail hands playing an old tune from the 70s. When she introduces herself, he smiles, the kind of smile that feels like home after years in the dark. He says, "You didn't have to save me." And she whispers, "Maybe I'm saving myself." As rain beats softly against the glass, the camera pans out. Two lost souls, bound not by love, but by the haunting need not to be alone. A soft jazz record hums through the penthouse, low, crackling, like a heartbeat between two broken people. It's been 6 months since Clara adopted Harold. The city has changed seasons, but the emptiness in her home has not. Except now, Harold fills it, with laughter, with music, with warmth. He teaches her to play the piano. She teaches him to dance again. Some nights, they sit on the balcony drinking red wine, sharing stories neither of them ever told anyone before. I spent 40 years teaching kids to dream, Harold says with a sad smile. But I stopped dreaming myself. Clara looks at him, the faint light softening her face. Maybe it's not too late, she whispers. As the record plays At Last by Etta James, Clara leans her head on his shoulder. The moment lingers. His hand, old, scarred, trembling, brushes her cheek. Silence. Then, a single tear runs down hers. I just wanted a family, she murmurs. I never knew it would feel like this. They don't speak again. The music swells. The light flickers. And for the first time, the space between loneliness and comfort disappears. The screen fades to black. Cut 2. The next morning. The piano sits silent. The wine glasses are still half full. Clara stares out the window, the sun rising on a new kind of guilt and tenderness she doesn't understand. Harold makes coffee, humming softly. When she turns, he simply says, "Whatever that was last night, it doesn't have to be a mistake." But in her eyes, there's already fear, not of him, but of what she's done to herself. Two lost souls found comfort in the wrong place. And it's only the beginning. The morning sickness starts subtly, a wave of nausea, a dizzy spell, the sudden aversion to Harold's favorite cologne. At first, Clara blames it on stress. But when the doctor smiles softly and says the words, "You're pregnant," her entire world freezes. She laughs, not from joy, but disbelief. "That's impossible," she whispers. "I'm 45. My husband's been dead for years." The doctor just nods. "Sometimes," he says, "life finds its way." Driving home, her hands tremble on the wheel. Harold greets her at the door with his usual gentle warmth, offering her tea. She stares at him, really sees him. The deep lines, the kind eyes, the man she thought was only meant to heal her loneliness. Now he's part of her, literally. That night, she can't sleep. The city hums below her window, oblivious. Her mind replays that night. The jazz, the wine, the silence that turned into something she can't take back. Tears fall onto the pillow. She whispers to herself, "What kind of woman does this?" But the next morning, something changes. Harold notices her distant look and asks gently, "Did I hurt you?" "No," she says. "You saved me. But now I don't know from what." Days pass. She hides her growing belly behind loose silk dresses, tells no one. Until one evening, Harold finds the ultrasound photo in the trash. He stares at it, then at her, his eyes wide, trembling. "Clara, is that?" "Yes," she says softly. "It's ours." He steps back, tears flooding his wrinkled cheeks. "I never thought I'd bring life into this world again." She turns away, her voice breaking. "And I never thought I'd bring it into mine." The music swells. A secret is born, one that can never stay hidden. For months, Clara hides behind excuses and expensive scarves. She tells her business partners she's traveling abroad, avoids friends who would ask too many questions, and moves Harold into a discreet villa outside the city. But secrets, especially ones wrapped in scandal, have a way of slipping through cracks. It starts with a whisper, then a photo, a paparazzi shot of Clara entering a prenatal clinic, her figure unmistakably pregnant. Within hours, it's everywhere. Luxury CEO expecting at 45, but who's the father? The mystery man in Clara Whitmore's life. Board members call emergency meetings. Her mother refuses to answer her calls. And her best friend, Melissa, comes to her penthouse in tears. "Clara, please tell me it's not true. What if it is? You had everything, reputation, respect, control. And now you've thrown it away for what?" "For him." Clara's voice trembles. "For love, Melissa. For something real. For the first time in my life, I wasn't alone." But the world doesn't care about love, not her kind. Harold's face hits the tabloids next. Clara's mystery lover, a retired janitor turned father-to-be. He's humiliated. She's crucified. One night, as rain lashes against the glass, Harold watches her pack her bags. "You don't have to do this," he says softly. "I do," she whispers. "They've taken everything from me, but they won't take our child." He reaches for her hand. "Then we leave. We start somewhere new." She shakes her head, tears blurring her vision. "There's no we, Harold. There never was. I made you part of my world, and it destroyed us both." Outside, cameras flash through the storm. The world's hunger for scandal unending. Inside, a woman stands at the window, clutching her unborn child, and wondering if love was worth the ruin. The hospital room smells of antiseptic and wilted lilies. Outside, reporters hover like vultures, desperate for the first photo of the billionaire's scandal baby. Inside, under pale white light, Clara holds her newborn son, Eli. Tiny, warm, perfect. For the first time in months, she smiles, a real, unguarded smile. Harold sits beside her, frail but glowing with pride. "He's got your eyes," he whispers. "And you're calm," Clara replies, brushing the child's cheek. "Then maybe he'll grow up kinder than the both of us." They laugh softly, but their joy carries a shadow. The world beyond those walls isn't ready for them. Already, the tabloids call her the fallen heiress. Her company's board pushes her to resign. Investors pull out. But in that small room, none of it matters. All she can see is Eli, her miracle, her redemption. She promises herself, whatever happens, he will never know pain, never know shame. "I'll build a world where he's free." Yet, even as she speaks, a quiet truth burns at the edge of her mind, one she refuses to say aloud. He's not just the product of love. He's the evidence of a secret that could destroy them all. A nurse enters with discharge papers, her eyes lingering too long on Harold. People whisper. Cameras flash outside the window. Still, Clara straightens her shoulders, kisses Eli's forehead, and holds him tight. "They'll talk," Harold says quietly. "Let them," she replies. "They can ruin my name, but they'll never touch his." She believes that, until the day her own son grows up and does exactly that. Years drift by like smoke. Clara's once sparkling mansion now feels like a museum. Too quiet, too heavy with memory. Harold passed away 2 winters ago. His final words echo every night. Protect him from the world and from himself. At first, Eli was gentle, the golden boy of every headline. Top of his class, charming, brilliant. People adored him. He was everything she dreamed he'd be. But something changed after he turned 21. He grew cold, distant, driven by something darker than ambition. He started asking questions about Harold, about where the money really came from, about what his mother did before he was born. When Clara dodged the questions, he smiled. The same knowing, sharp smile Harold used when cornering his rivals. He began working in her company, Brooks Innovations, And within months, he'd outmaneuvered senior executives, charmed board members, and restructured departments. Everyone whispered he was a genius. Clara whispered a prayer. She watched him from her glass office, pride and dread mixing like oil and water. Sometimes he'd look up from across the floor, eyes cold, unreadable, and she'd feel it again. That same flicker Harold had when he was about to make a move. Late one night, she entered his office and found her name, Clara Brooks, scrawled across documents stamped confidential investigation. Every page was about her past. Every file traced the lie she'd buried years ago, the adoption, the scandal, the truth about who Eli really was. Her heart dropped. "Why are you digging this up?" she whispered the next day. Eli only smiled. "Because lies don't stay buried forever, Mom." That was the moment she realized. Her son wasn't protecting her legacy. He was preparing to destroy it. It started with a headline: Billionaire Clara Brooks under federal investigation. Clara froze at her breakfast table, her trembling hands spilling coffee over the paper. The accusations were brutal: fraud, embezzlement, manipulation of adoption records. Every secret she thought she buried was now public, with evidence only one person could have accessed. Eli, her son, her miracle, her downfall. At first, she refused to believe it. Maybe the media got it wrong. Maybe someone else hacked their files. But then she turned on the TV, and there he was. Her son, sitting across from a reporter, smiling that same charming smile, saying words that carved into her heart like knives. "My mother built her empire on lies. She deceived investors, family, even me." The studio audience gasped. The world believed him. And Clara, watching alone in her mansion, felt the air leave her lungs. She drove to his penthouse that night, rain hammering down, and demanded answers. He didn't even flinch when he saw her. "Why?" she cried. "After everything I did for you." Eli leaned back, hands in his pockets, eyes colder than winter. "You didn't do it for me, Clara. You did it for control. You built your empire on manipulation, and you thought I'd never see it." She stepped closer, voice breaking. "I gave you life." "No," he said quietly. "You took his, the man who should have been my father, and used me to fill your emptiness." Lightning flashed. For the first time, she saw Harold's ruthlessness alive in Eli's face, sharper, smarter, unrestrained. And in that instant, Clara realized the truth. Her son didn't want to expose her for justice. He wanted to become her. The sun rose over Manhattan like a cruel spotlight. Clara Brooks, once the queen of luxury real estate, stood at the center of her crumbling empire. Her office, once bustling with power brokers and polished assistants, now sat eerily silent. Computer screens blinked with frozen accounts. The walls, covered with framed magazine covers of her success, felt like gravestones. Every deal she built, every asset she touched, frozen by federal order. Her name trended on every screen. Hashtag Clara Brooks exposed. And the worst part? Eli was the face of the investigation. He testified before Congress, handing over documents, forged, twisted, but believable, tying Clara to every scheme Harold once ran. Her lawyers advised her to lay low, but Clara couldn't. She couldn't watch her life dissolve under her own son's shadow. She needed to see him, to make him understand. She found him at a private gala, her former partners now applauding him. Eli Brooks, the visionary who cleaned up his mother's empire. Her blood boiled. Clara stormed in, cameras flashing, and confronted him under the golden chandelier. "You think this makes you powerful?" she hissed. "You think this city will ever love you the way it loved me?" Eli turned slowly, calm and collected. "No," he said softly. "They'll love me more, because I buried you before you could bury me." Security moved in. Reporters swarmed. And in that surreal moment, Clara realized she wasn't the predator anymore. She was the headline. She was arrested on live television. As the cuffs clicked shut, she caught Eli's eyes one last time. He didn't smile. He didn't look away. He just whispered, "Now you know what it feels like to be used." The iron doors slammed shut behind her, a sound that echoed like judgment. Clara Brooks, once draped in silk and diamonds, now wore an orange jumpsuit and chains. Her reflection in the metal mirror was almost unrecognizable. No makeup, no mask, just the woman beneath the empire, raw, furious, and breathing vengeance. Weeks passed, and whispers grew inside the prison walls. Even here, she was infamous. The billionaire who adopted a man, gave birth to his child, and lost everything to him. But in the quiet hours between lights out and dawn, Clara pieced the puzzle together. Eli's betrayal hadn't been spontaneous. It was orchestrated. A leak from one of her old assistants, now serving time for tax fraud, confirmed it. Eli had been working with Harold's former partners all along. They wanted Clara out of the way so Eli could inherit the company without her. And the cruelest twist? The documents that destroyed her were written in her handwriting, digitally cloned, artificial signatures, fake audit trails, all courtesy of Eli's tech startup, the one she funded. The boy she once cradled had engineered her downfall using her own resources. Clara's rage hardened into focus. She started writing letters, mapping names, tracing money trails. Inside that cell, she rebuilt her mind into a weapon. She bribed guards for favors, smuggled notes through visiting lawyers. Because now, she didn't want her empire back. She wanted the truth to bleed. And one rainy night, as thunder rattled the prison walls, a message slipped under her cell door. No signature, just a phrase in familiar handwriting. He's not who you think he is. Meet me at dawn, rooftop. Her pulse raced. Harold's name was written at the bottom. Dawn painted the prison rooftop in shades of ash and gold. The air was sharp with rain and rust. Clara's hands trembled as the guard led her up, a favor she'd bought with everything left of her influence. And there he was, standing in the wind, older, thinner, but unmistakably alive. Harold. Her heart froze. You, she gasped. You're supposed to be dead. He smiled faintly, the kind of smile that carried both regret and rot. Death, he said softly, isn't as permanent as betrayal. She stepped closer, voice cracking. You let me think you were gone. You let him destroy you, he finished. I had to see how far he'd go. Clara's breath caught. Eli. Harold nodded, eyes glinting with a truth too dark to hold. He's not your son, Clara. He's mine. The boy I had before I met you. I placed him in that home years ago, the one you adopted from. You were never supposed to. You were supposed to save him, not sleep with him. Her knees buckled. No, she whispered. No, Harold, that's not possible. It is. He knew who you were from the start. He played you, and me. I gave him everything. My blood. My empire. And he wanted more. The rooftop spun. Rain poured harder, mixing with tears. Why tell me now? She choked. Because he's coming for me next, Harold said. And I needed you to know, before you decide what kind of woman you'll die as. The victim he made, or the storm I married. The sirens wailed below. A helicopter approached. Clara wiped her tears, steady, fierce. Then let's finish what we started, she said, her eyes cold with purpose. Cut to black.